This is a special presentation on GeorgeSquared. It's an advanced biomedical sciences program jointly offered by Georgetown and George Mason. Assistant Program Director Kristen Wever is with us tonight to tell us more about the program. I do want to let everyone know that this session is, if you've been on any of our presentations before, you probably know this by now, but it's being recorded and also simulcast on Facebook. So if you want to keep your cameras off, which it looks like almost everyone is anyway, then you can. Otherwise, if you're muted, you're probably not going to show up on screen anyway, so you won't have to worry about that. But Kristen, I'll hand it over to you.
Great, thank you so much for having me. So yeah, it's a small group of you guys, so I'm going to make this, very conversational. I'm not just going to sit here and talk at you. I do have slides to get through, but feel free to take pictures, slides as we go, ask questions as we go. I have the chat up here to my left. That's why I kind of keep looking this way. So if you have questions as we go, feel free to type them in, but if not, we can do a bunch of questions at the end. Just so I kind of know who I'm working with here, do you mind sharing what year you are, and if you're pre-med or pre-dental or anything like that? You can either unmute yourself or chat it, whatever you feel comfortable with.
I can start to break the ice. My name's Colleen. I'm a senior. I am applying in this cycle, so I'm looking to take one gap year.
And you're pre-med?
You're pre-med, yeah, sorry.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Haley. I'm a freshman and I'm pre-med.
Awesome, nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm a senior and I'm also looking to do pre-med and a gap year.
Gotcha.
Hi, I'm Ella. I'm a sophomore and I'm a pre-med student as well.
So,
I'm Sarah. I'm a pre-med student and I'm a senior, and I plan on taking 2 gap years before I go to medical school.
Awesome. All right, so we have all pre-med students, so I'm just going to refer mostly to that. We do have students in our program who are pre-dental or pre-PA and some other ones there, but for the most part, we're pre-med. So I'm just going to, when I'm referring to stuff, I'm going to say MCAT and pre-med because you guys are all pre-med students. So yes, I'm here to talk to you guys about GeorgeSquared, which is a joint certificate program offered through 2 Georges, so to speak, Georgetown University and George Mason University. Here's quickly what we will go through, and then who our team is out in Manassas. Normally, I guess we're all virtual right now, but the director is Dr. Bill Hahn, and then myself is Kristen. I'm the assistant director. So we're a small team. Jim is our admin assistant, so you may have corresponded with me or Jim if you've reached out to us at all. And then our faculty is split up into 2 groups. We have folks we call supplemental faculty. You'll hear me say SupFac or supplemental faculty members a lot in this presentation. They are kind of like our TAs, TAs on steroids, honestly. That's kind of how I describe their role. And so they are not instructional faculty. Again, they're more on the TA side. That usually kind of gives you an idea of what they do. And then we have our instructional faculty who are members from both George Mason and Georgetown University. So that's a little bit about our group. Just to give you a quick history of our program. So again, we are a partnership program. So when students come to our certificate, GeorgeSquared, you are a student at both universities. How they kind of merge together is the curriculum is based on the general master's in physiology out of Georgetown University, which the general master's in physiology is based on the special master's in physiology at Georgetown. So a lot of different programs here. Can be a little bit confusing, so stop me if you have questions, but all 3 are graduate level programs. The special master's program actually teaches medical curriculum, medical courses with M1 students. So our courses are based on that, but not quite at that level. So it's a rigorous curriculum, again, very similar to that first year of med school. And then we use Mason facilities. So that's kind of where George Mason comes into play. We are on the SciTech campus of George Mason, which is in, Manassas, Virginia, a little bit further outside of DC than Fairfax, which is the main campus. And then we use all their systems, right? So you apply through Mason, your transcript is through Mason, things like that. So that's kind of where the 2 universities collide. Faculty from both institutions, and I can't stress this enough because students get really confused. You are a student at both universities, joint program. We do go down to Georgetown for our anatomy labs, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But for the most part, we're at George Mason's campus. Been around for 11 years now, so we have a pretty large alumni network, which is great. I tap into them all the time. And we are a 9-month program, so it's very quick, 2 semesters, fall and spring, 20 credits, and it's at the graduate level. There are some options to finish a master's, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But that's generally what we are. Any questions so far? I talked fast, so I'm trying to slow myself down here. All right, so here is a little bit about our curriculum, what our curriculum looks like. So again, it's a pretty quick program, 20 credits. So you're taking, I believe it's 9 in the fall, 11 in the fall, 9 in the spring. So there's 3 main courses in the fall: biochem, histology, and biostatistics. And then the spring really gets into anatomy and physiology. So those are kind of the core courses in the curriculum. And then we do have some 1-credit seminar courses that we pair in the fall and spring semesters as well. The biomedical career pathways course, we in that class, we get a little bit into study strategies. Kaplan, or who we partner with for test prep, comes in and we did some growth mindset sessions, kind of some professional development. And then we also bring in some speakers from health professional programs, so medical schools, dental schools, things like that, just to come in and talk with our students. And then in Physician and Society, we have speakers come in who are working professionals already in healthcare, and they come in and talk about different roles. So we have someone coming in to talk about health disparities from AMSA in a few weeks. Somebody comes and talks about medical ethics and clinical trials and things like that. So we do try to sprinkle in a few different opportunities for our students outside of the curriculum. We do offer test prep, and I'll get into this a little bit later, but you have that listed there in each semester as well. All right, so program highlights. So to me, the biggest thing that sets our program apart is the amount of advising and support that we offer. So between myself and Dr. Hahn, we have those usually 3 to 4 individuals each year that we call supplemental faculty, and they are hired just for our students. So our program is about anywhere from 80 to 100 students, so it's a relatively large program. And we have 3 to 4 supplemental faculty members for that group. And they teach our hybrid session, which I'll talk about. They offer practice exams and review sessions and tutoring and one-on-one academic support, everything, anything that our students need, they are there for our group, which is really nice. It's a super supportive environment. It's not, no one's fighting for med school seats or anything like that. It's a very let's enhance you all in lots of different aspects, academically, professionally, personally, whatever, and really help you, take you to that next step. So the amount of support is huge. Dr. Hahn does provide, who's the director, does provide a letter of recommendation once you leave the program. So it can go towards a committee letter, it can be a freestanding letter, however you choose to use that. And him and I both help with personal statement reviews, resume reviews. I do a lot of mock interviews. So if it's not during the program, I'm working with alums the following year when they're actually in the cycle, things like that. So the amount of support is just incredible to me. Test prep is another thing we have. So we don't require the MCAT when you apply to our program. If you have a score and you want to submit it, we're happy to look at it. And if you don't want to use test prep, that's fine as well, but it is built into the tuition. So you have online access with Kaplan for 2 years. So the year during our program and then the following year. And then we do offer some face-to-face boot camp sessions throughout the semester. So we do it once in January in between the fall and spring, and then once again in May at the end of the term. Our students tend to be in lots of different places, right, during their journey. Some have taken the MCAT before, some have never taken it. It really just kind of depends. So we offer lots of different options for our students, but you do have a little bit of face-to-face prep during our program. So there are 3 main learning options when you're looking at our program. The third being relatively new and has come along because of COVID, but we are planning on keeping it. So the first is the lecture format. So of those pictures, if you look at that top left picture, that's what one of our lecture halls looks like. And most of our students are in the lecture section, and it's really just how it sounds. You attend the lectures face-to-face. You see the instructional faculty member face-to-face. You can ask questions live. You go to class, right? The hybrid section, which is our second mode of learning, you do not attend the lectures. You watch the recorded version of the lectures and then meet in a small group, only about 20 students. So you'll see that top right picture there is our hybrid class. And so they meet after the lecture has already occurred and after they've already watched the lecture, and they meet with our supplemental faculty members to kind of dissect the lecture a little bit more. So there'll be some maybe practice questions or scenarios, question and answer, that kind of thing. So the lecture, the hybrid, and then our third option is completely online. So students can attend the lectures online, they can tune in online, or they can just watch them recorded, but there's no face-to-face component like the lecture and the hybrid. Everything is recorded, right? So all the lectures are recorded, all the hybrid sessions are recorded, and all of those materials can be accessed by any student, regardless of which section they're in, which is nice. So hybrid does tend to fill up. So if for whatever reason you don't get into hybrid, you have all those online materials, and you also have access to supplemental faculty, even if you're not in hybrid, right? So they teach the hybrid, so hybrid students tend to see them a little bit more, but everyone has access to all of the materials, all of the staff, that kind of thing. So it's really just dependent on what learning style you prefer. Any questions on that? It can be kind of confusing, lecture, hybrid, online. Typically, we recommend, or we require, I guess, students to kind of stay in their section. I get that question a lot, is if they can kind of go between. And so no, the class times tend to overlap. The hybrid section is a small, intimate group, so we don't like kind of people coming and going. So usually you stick with that one mode of instruction. Those bottom two pictures there are some pictures of campus. So that bottom left picture is Katherine Johnson Hall, which is where our offices are and all of our classrooms are. It's the SciTech campus is small. It's the satellite campus of the main George Mason campus, so it's relatively small. Not too many students out there. And then that bottom right picture is actually of the graduate housing that's available on campus that I'll talk about here in a second. So we're on this campus majority of the program. The only time we go down to Georgetown in DC is to do the anatomy labs, which happen 3 times in the spring semester, of course, outside of COVID times. We do try to sprinkle in a few volunteer and professional opportunities, I should say, I guess some clinical, while students are in the program. However, we do expect most of our students to enter the program with a good amount of that experience already, just because the main focus of our program is on the academics. It's a hard, rigorous program, and it's full-time. And you know, while we try to sprinkle a few things in, it's the emphasis is mostly on the academics. There are some second year options. I know somebody mentioned taking two gap years. So some students do continue on to get a master's degree, which I will get into that in a little bit. And we do have a new chapter with AMSA, which is nice as well. All right, so just a few pictures here to kind of showcase a few of the extracurriculars that we do offer. So every fall, again, outside of COVID times, we have a health professional fair where we invite representatives from health professional programs, med schools, CO programs, dental programs, PA, all that kind of stuff, to our campus. And we have a fair just for our students, which is super nice. So anywhere from 20 to 30 schools, again, just for our students, and we you can get some time to have that one-on-one time with some representatives, which is nice. This year, because of COVID, we turned to some online presentations, which honestly has been nice as well. They're one-on-one because that's just kind of how it works remotely, right? So that's been nice. But that top left and middle picture is some students at our health fair. We do a suture clinic usually in the spring as well. So that picture kind of towards the middle, the 2 gentlemen there are working on a piece of kind of fake skin, I guess, and practicing some of their suture skills. The bottom left is one of our professors, Dr. Mulroney, who's doing a vitals session, and some volunteer opportunities there on the right. So we do sprinkle some things into the program. All right, so Beacon Hall, there is graduate housing on campus. We honestly get a pretty good mix. There's, I don't know, maybe 20 to 30 students who live in Beacon Hall every year. The rest are either commuting or they find housing nearby that's not on campus. But there is this option available. I believe these prices are probably this year's, not this next coming. So those aren't fully accurate, but graduate housing only, right? It is structured like a dorm, fully furnished, all the bills and everything included, right? But you won't find undergrad students there, which is kind of nice. And we do have some beds set aside, or rooms, I guess, set aside just for our students. So if that's of interest to you, just make sure you apply relatively early. All right, so the second year options. So the other big question I get is, when students are in your program, are they also applying to med school? The answer to that is mostly no. Most of our pre-med students, sorry if you hear that ambulance, I think that's me. Most of our pre-med students are applying after they leave our program. Some are in the cycle when they start our program, which is perfectly fine, but for the most part, they are not. So some students will finish our program in May, fall and spring, and finish in May, and that will be it. They're happy with a graduate certificate, 20 credits, they feel good about it. Others really want to finish that master's degree. So there's a couple different options. The general master's in physiology at Georgetown, which I mentioned in the very beginning, so not the special master's, but the general master's, you can complete that master's for an additional 10 credits. And there's a couple different ways you can do that. The most popular being that you can finish it the summer after our program, right? So you start our program in August, go through May, and then you can finish the master's degree that summer by July, so I think end of July. 10 extra credits, you're kind of already in academics mode. And a lot of our students do that. Probably about 40% of our students do that. If you don't want to do it that summer, you can also spread it out over the next academic year and different options there. And Georgetown has a few different master's options. They have one in pharmacology and a couple other options, but the general master's in physiology is straight up 10 extra credits. They take all of our credits. It's kind of the agreement we already have in place. You do have to apply, so it's not an automatic thing. You have to have a 3.0 in our program, some other stipulations there, but for the most part, if you apply, you'll get in as long as you meet certain requirements. But you do have to apply separately once you're in our program. And then George Mason also has a few master's degrees as well, biology and biochemistry being the most popular. And none of those have the option to complete during just that summer. So that would be another year. Some of our students need the MCAT. It really just depends. So they may take another year to study for the MCAT. They may take another year to do clinical work or volunteer work. It really just kind of depends on where you're at. There are some that jump right into the cycle right after our program, and there are some that take another year. So it really just kind of depends. I have this conversation with students all year long, multiple times. So we're here to kind of work with you through that process. All right, so a quick slide on tuition. We are eligible for financial aid, which is awesome. But that gold number there's no in-state or out-of-state rate. It's just a fixed rate. That is the cost of the GeorgeSquared program. So there's a lot going on there. That gold number is kind of what you want to look at. And then below that are some estimates for how much it would cost to add on the master's degree options. All right, let's skip to the next one. All right, so admissions. So these are the requirements we're looking for, at least a 3.0 undergraduate GPA. We have admitted people below that, so that's another big popular question. If I'm below 3.0, can I still apply? Yes, you can. But generally, we're looking for about a 3.0 cumulative GPA, and usually at least a 2.8 science GPA is what we're looking for. So those are the prerequisites. If you're a pre-health major, you likely have all of these. If you still are in progress in completing those, that's perfectly fine. You can still apply. But essentially, year of bio, year of chem, year of organic chem, year of physics, and then a math course. We also want 3 letters of recommendation. We recommend 1, if not 2, from science faculty members if possible. Other people can be someone you've shadowed, a supervisor, a mentor, things like that. And again, I think I've said this, we do want applicants to have a good amount of clinical and volunteer experience prior to getting to us. Research experience is not required. It's great if you have it. It's kind of the same goes when you're applying to med school. But we just kind of want, just like med schools, want to know that you already have your feet wet, you already kind of know about the profession, you know what you're getting into. And at the same time, we just know how rigorous our program is during the year, and we don't want that to have to be another thing you have to work on. We do also require a personal statement. Don't be afraid to bring up any mishaps that happened in undergrad. If there's a semester or two where something happened in your life that caused some grades to fall, tell us in that statement. The admissions committee, they want to know, right? They want to put things into context so they can understand kind of what happened and why your GPA might be a little bit lower than you might like. And then again, no test scores required. If you have them, happy to look at them. And I should have mentioned this in the beginning, so I apologize if I didn't. Our program is considered a record enhancer post-bac option by nature, right? So the purpose of our program is for students who already have that science background, already have these prereqs, but their GPA is just not entirely where they want it in terms of when they want to apply to med school. So our program is a graduate level enhancer type program, right? So we're trying to help enhance your application to help increase your chances of getting admitted to a med school. All right, so this is what our class of 2021 looked like, which is relatively similar to the most recent classes. The biggest difference is our numbers did drop. I'm sure you guys are aware of this, but med school applications skyrocketed. The numbers in general are up like 19–20%. And I've been hearing from some schools that have even larger numbers of increase. So that could be why, who knows? But we had only 68 enter this last year. Normally we're somewhere between 80 and 100. A couple years ago, I think we were over 100, like 120. So it's a large group, still a close-knit group, which is nice. So there's the average GPAs of our incoming class. We also tend to be very female heavy, which also follows some trends in the field as well. A kind of a young group. We have a mix of people who are right out of undergrad, and then we have a good group that comes 2 to 3 years after undergrad, and then even some seasoned professionals. This year we have someone who's been a nurse for 20 years, and she wants to go to med school. So it's a real diverse group in lots of different areas, mostly pre-med, but we do have some pre-dental, pre-PA, pre-others as well. And we tend to favor the East Coast, especially DC, Maryland, Virginia, but we're expanding that a little bit as well. We do have someone this year from Hawaii, which is pretty cool. All right, so big screen, lots of words. It's on our website. Don't feel like you have to squint or really dissect what's on here, but essentially this is just to give you an idea of where our students go after our program. So I'm constantly kind of working on data to see where our students are going, when they're going, things like that. But as of right now, roughly 2/3 of our students are getting into health professional programs within 2 years of completing our program. So that just gives you an idea of our success, right? And they're going lots of different places. The other big question I get is, do you have a tie with Georgetown School of Medicine? They know about our program, right? So we don't have an articulation agreement or anything, but we have sent students to Georgetown. They know of our program. We're obviously part Georgetown. So we don't have any articulation agreements with anyone. We send students to a variety of different places, NDDO, a few to even offshore programs, which we can talk about with our students. So all over the place. Local schools do tend to really know a lot about us, which is awesome. We send a lot of students to Howard and a lot of the DO schools and EVMS and VCU and things like that. So our alumni network is huge, and I'm constantly tapping into that. So that's great. Okay, so timeline. Our application's been open for a while. It's been open since last fall, and the deadline's not till July 15th. So there's plenty of time. Our busiest season does tend to be in May and June. So no one is late by any means. You could wait until after your spring grades are in if you'd like. It's totally up to you. And the underclassmen, this is way out for you all, but July 15th, that's our deadline for the incoming year. And I've talked about all this fall and spring semesters, coupled with boot camp sessions for test prep, and then the master's degree options at the end. A few things I just want to mention in regards to some new updates and what's been going on with COVID. I'm sure all of this is very familiar with you all. We did start the program this fall in a somewhat face-to-face blended version. I was actually out on maternity leave in the fall, so I wasn't here for the transition, but we'd already had the we'd already had the hybrid session in place. So we already kind of knew how to run an online format in our program, which was nice. So we had a very smooth transition. Our students have been just as successful as they normally are. And so we had some students on campus, some fully online, same with faculty. It was kind of up to everyone's comfort level. And that was through Thanksgiving. And of course, with safety measures in place, right? George Mason was doing tons of testing, masks, all that kind of good stuff. And then after Thanksgiving, all exams and everything was remote, and we have started the spring semester completely remote as well. We are hoping to get students back to campus, some of them at least, in mid-March, but as of right now, everything is staying remote while COVID numbers are still a little high. Next year, it's just so hard to say, right? We don't know what's going to happen. We hope to be at least partly back face-to-face again, like we did last fall, but there's no requirement to come to campus or anything like that. Everything is done very safe and safe measures. So that's kind of where we've been with COVID. Something new that we're hoping to start this fall is we're hoping to offer scholarships. Yay. So there's nothing specific out there quite yet. So just kind of keep watching our website or be in touch with us via email if you are going to apply. But we're hoping to have 10 scholarships valued each at $5,000. So we're really excited about that. That's all I have for you. I haven't seen any questions pop up in the chat. So at this point, any questions, you can unmute, you can chat, whatever you're most comfortable with. But there is our email and our website. So any questions whatsoever after this presentation, you can also email me.